I'm angry. I'm angry about so many things that happened on October 7th, about so many things that have happened since that horrible day, about so many things happening in our country and world right now. I know you are too. My anger skyrocketed right after Yom Kippur last year, just after I'd given a sermon about treating difficult people in our lives with compassion and love. I advocated for commitment to relationships over estrangement, even for the people who take advantage of us, hurt us, disappoint us, and offend us. And then, just weeks later, a cherished friend and religious leader I knew through interfaith work broke my heart. Now, I couldn't practice what I'd preached. She posted a sermon on Facebook that was so vile, so replete with Jewish stereotypes and anti-Semitism, that I couldn't believe my eyes. I tried to have an open mind. Maybe this was just a big misunderstanding. She and I had had difficult conversations before, especially when we lived in the same city. We could talk this out, couldn't we? I messaged her privately to tell her I was hurt by her words, that I worried her views perpetuated hatred of Jews. Oh, did she respond? She doubled down on her bigotry and wrote the following back to me. Who is this God you serve? What code of ethics are you following? Many are afraid of the power of the Jews to label them as anti-Semitic and cost them their jobs, their right to speak in the public square, their right to ask questions. You could get me killed, which is what you'll have to do to shut me up. I was stunned, speechless. Last Yom Kippur, I'd used the holiest day of the year to implore this congregation to turn toward the most difficult people in our lives. And here, just weeks later, I was given the chance to do exactly that and found I couldn't. What's more, even after the sermon I'd just given, there was no part of me that thought that ending this friendship was the wrong thing to do. I don't think my anger was the wrong response, and I don't think yours was either. I know that many of you are angry. I've listened to your stories about what you've been through. I hope you aren't ashamed of your anger because it's justified. How could you not be furious when a friend decides not to attend your wedding because there will be too many Zionists there? How could you not be enraged when you lose your dream job after months of watching government layoffs with bated breath? How could you not be angry when public lawmakers are being murdered in their homes and 31-year-old fathers are assassinated in front of college students? I suspect these are not the kinds of stories you expected to hear on the evening of Yom Kippur. To be honest, they're not the kinds of stories I expected to tell either. Yom Kippur is our day of atonement. We come here to cultivate compassion, heartfelt apologies, and forgiveness. We're also here to wrestle with complexity, to think about why we do the things we do, to explore the idea of forgiveness, but also its limits. And most of all, to better understand how to live our highest values in our everyday lives. What if on the holiest day of the year, it's time to face our fury straight on and pay attention to what it's telling us? Anger gets a bad rap in our society. It's not generally something we aspire to. We often hear things like holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die, that anger will eat us alive, or that it's a burden that can only weigh us down. Judaism cautions us about anger too. The book of Ecclesiastes from the Bible says, "Don't let your spirit be quickly angered, because anger rests in the breasts of fools." Pirkei Avot, a 3rd century rabbinic text, teaches that the most pious person is one who is difficult to anger and easy to appease. Anger can cause a lot of damage. It can be volatile, explosive, dangerous, but it can be life-saving too. Anger exists for a reason. It's primal. Our bodies tell us that we're angry before we are even aware. The burning sensation that reddens our cheeks and makes our hearts pound in our chest gave our ancestors an evolutionary advantage. It helped them run from a bear or attack it if they needed to. Rabbeinu Yonah, a 13th century rabbi from Spain, teaches that while it's counterproductive to be easily angered, sometimes anger is justified. After deliberate and careful assessment, we can allow ourselves to get angry. In other words, we should try to subdue the kind of anger that erupts with little thought or intention. But there's an anger that flows from a different place, from experiencing injustice, abuse, hatred, or betrayal. Moses, our greatest prophet and leader, struggled with anger throughout his life. Sometimes he was praised for his anger, and sometimes he was punished. Ultimately, his anger changed the course of his life and how we remember him. The first story. After Moses' righteous anger at Pharaoh, the Israelites finally flee Egypt and traverse the desert. Moses and the Israelites arrive at Mount Sinai. While Moses climbs the mountain to receive the 10 Commandments, his brother Aaron calls on the people to bring their jewelry so they may build the golden calf. Standing before the sculpture, the people exclaim, "This is your God, O Israel, who brought you out of Egypt." And they bring offerings to a material object who most certainly did not bring them out of Egypt. When God notices what the Israelites have done, God tells Moses to go down the mountain and see what's happened. When Moses witnesses that jubilant dancing in front of this idol, he becomes furious. He smashes the tablets at the foot of the mountain and burns the golden calf to the ground. What should we make of Moses' actions here? The rabbis of the Talmud don't interpret Moses' fit of anger as rash or excessive. He smashes the tablets because the people have done something truly wrong. God rescued the Israelites. They entered a covenant. Their future depends on their faith. So for Moses and God, there's nothing worse than breaking the covenant. Destroying the tablets had a goal. It was a visible act of protest, a clear message to the people that they crossed a nearly unforgivable line. The Talmud explains that Moses' focused anger set him above every other prophet in our people's history. The other side of Moses' anger has a much more tragic ending. As the Israelites wandered the desert for decades, their only source of water was a miraculous well that followed Miriam everywhere she went. Upon her death, the Israelites cry out, "If only we had died. We have no figs or wine or pomegranates. We don't even have water to drink." God instructs Moses and Aaron to assemble the people and speak to a rock that will bring forth water. But when the people assemble, instead of speaking to the rock, Moses furiously strikes it, saying, "Listen, you rebels, shall we get water for you out of this rock?" Moses pays a big price for this mistake. Huge. God says to him, "You've publicly disobeyed me. You shall not lead the people into the land that I have given them." He gets only a glimpse of the promised land before he dies in the wilderness. God's decision has perplexed rabbis for centuries. Did the punishment fit the crime? Was Moses so out of line that he deserved to die in the wilderness? Some commentators point to Moses' public disobedience as the reason for his punishment. A leader has to model faith and subordination in front of their people. But the prolific and brilliant Rabbi Jonathan Sacks of blessed memory says something profound about what Moses did wrong. Moses could see the people were distraught and thirsty, incredibly afraid and completely worn down. But he let his anger overcome him. He didn't comfort them or console them when they needed it most. So what do we do with our anger this Yom Kippur? How do we know the difference between righteous anger and the anger that blocks our compassion? How do we move from seething, explosive, heart-closing anger to the productive, transformative kind? We start by examining our anger. Are we angry because we see something wrong in the world and we can't sit idly by? If the answer is yes, then it's time to do something. As much as we might want to, we can't push our anger down or avoid it. It's not a question of if we will be angry, but of how that anger will come out, because it will come out. We have to harness our anger and make it something useful and powerful. We have to write letters, vote, and march. Think of the thousands of Israelis rallying for the release of hostages and the end of the war every single week. We have to rip down anti-Semitic stickers on public benches and call out hatred and bigotry when we see it. I have a friend who carries a Sharpie around with him so he can cover up the stickers he can't peel off. Another friend reports anti-Semitic content on social media. We have to be bold and brave, fly our pride flag high, wear an even bigger high around our necks. So many in our community have chosen to do that. We have to create with our hands, with our words, with our instruments. A member of this congregation makes beautiful bracelets with Jewish stars and Hamzas on them. She gives them as gifts to people. Cantors and rabbis I know have composed heart-wrenching music and deeply moving poems. We have to sing, pray, climb, run, write out our anger, because when we turn our anger into something sacred, we will feel better. We will be better. We will help shape a tomorrow that is better. I recently learned that before Elie Wiesel wrote Night, he wrote a memoir in Yiddish called Und die Welt hat geschwiegen, and the world remained silent. The original manuscript of Night, it differs from Night, not just in length, but in content. And the world remains silent contains rage, resistance, and stories of revenge. But Elie Wiesel and his publisher understood that he would need to write a much less angry book for the message to go far and wide. It's a hard truth to swallow. People could handle reading about Jewish suffering and victimhood, but Jewish anger or strength would make them too uncomfortable, no matter how justified. That makes me really mad. Elie Wiesel should not have had to subdue his anger. The world should have been able to handle it. The world should still be able to handle it. I wonder if Elie Wiesel's first manuscript, in which he fully expressed the depths of his rage, enabled him to bring out other aspects of his horrific experience in night. It's difficult to find Elie Wiesel's original work. So few copies were printed or distributed. 10 million copies of Night have been sold around the world. His transformed rage taught millions of people about the worst atrocity that's ever happened to the Jewish people, ensuring it will never be forgotten. Sometimes anger is necessary. It can be much more than burning fuel on the brink of a deadly explosion. It fuels action. It propels process. In those cases, it's a means to an end, not an end itself. Your anger can be the end of your attempt to reach the promised land or the beginning of a new chapter in the covenant. Your anger can tell a story no one will ever hear, or transform itself into a story that can help educate and heal the world. What I think these stories tell us is, don't let your story end in anger. Use anger to create new beginnings instead. And so, I come back to the story of my former friend, who I hope and pray will one day try to understand the collective trauma of the Jewish people and the harm her words can cause. I don't know how this story ends yet, but I promise myself it won't end in anger, that I will turn my anger into something better. Most of us would be lying if we said we never strike the rock in a fit of rage, that we always respond in the moment just as we should. I know I don't. On this Day of Atonement, we should say sorry for the times our anger has hurt others or caused them pain. We should say sorry for not using our anger for good, for failing to shatter and break for a better world. But we should not apologize for the righteous anger that resides deep in our hearts and souls. The shattered tablets Moses broke in anger so long ago, God tells Moses to place them in the holy ark right next to the new ones. Those tablets are forever part of our story. What is our anger telling us right now? It's telling us who we are and what we care about. It's telling us it's time to act for ourselves, for one another, and for future generations. But the question isn't just, what is our anger telling us? The question is also, what is our anger asking of us? In the year ahead, let this question be our call to action. Because our anger has power. Our anger has purpose. Our anger is holy. Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. Gonna